Accidentally sent the novel I was writing to my boss as a work document. He just sent me a question mark. Me, I stayed up all night writing it, not impressed? Him, surprised, you wrote this? Of course, impressive, right? For the company's new project. Finished the last draft of the proposal, it was already past 3 a.m. My eyes were bleary, I closed my computer wanting to sleep. Just as I shut my eyes, an image flashed in my mind of Jason with a cold face saying I wasn't working hard. He's always tough and emotionless. Back in school, he aimed for college A and just coldly rejected my confession. Then he became my boss, scowling at me daily. I both hated and couldn't resist the company perks. Secretly vowed to become a cold work machine. Thinking that, I pushed through my tiredness and sent the file to Jason from my desktop. Submitting work to the boss at 3:30 in the morning, serve him right. In the morning, my alarm woke me and I checked Jason's reply. He didn't even ask if I stayed up late or praise my proposal. He just sent a huge question mark. How humanless. Already sleep deprived, I was instantly annoyed and typed away. What's with the question mark? I stayed up all night writing, not good enough? Jason replied quickly. He seemed a bit taken aback. You wrote it? I had revised this proposal 3 times via my perception this was the perfect version. Far surpassed my peers. Jason must have been awed by my talent, right? Confident and proud, of course, impressive, right? Jason bizarrely went silent for a bit. After a while, he only replied with 2 words, impressive. While clutching my soy milk and squeezing into the elevator at work, there stood Jason. He sat in the corner of the elevator, his handsome face unfocused, his tie slightly askew. Looking closely, I noticed his ears had a strange blush. Others greeted him, and he only absently replied with an Squeezed next to him, I caught a glance downward. Noticed his phone screen had a document alert saying, Continue reading, Final Draft 1. Final Draft, my habit of naming my documents. Once the boss confirms no errors, I change it to the official title. Impressed by my proposal, eh? I couldn't help myself. Jason, did you finish reviewing the file I sent? Jason glanced up a moment, then looked awkward. Not yet. He seemed reluctant to continue the conversation. So, I didn't pursue it. Back at my desk, coworkers whispered. Don't you think Jason seems odd today? I noticed, he's been secretly checking his phone, face all red. What's he looking at? Keeping it so secret. Could it be a girlfriend's love note? No way, Jason's a perpetual bachelor, right? I listened, puzzled. Based on what I saw this morning, he was likely reading my proposal. What's there to blush about? While still bewildered, coworker Lily asked, Carrie, how's your proposal coming? It's due before this afternoon's meeting. I grinned, already sent it to Jason. She looked skeptical, so quickly? I admit, I used to procrastinate a bit with work. But I've completely turned over a new leaf. To prove myself, I showed her my chat with Jason. Why lie? Here, see. Lily was taken aback, finger tapping to open my proposal. I was ready to bask in her praise. Instead, she was silent. Finally, she said with a grimace. He tugged her hair, tense. Jason lifted from her thighs, leaned back over her. Carrie, is this the proposal you sent Jason? Hearing the familiar description, disbelief struck, and I snatched my phone back. What? The document fully displayed on the screen. The plot was intense. Not just steamy, very steamy. Immediately I knew I'd mistakenly sent him my adult fiction featuring Jason as a character. Years ago, I wrote heartfelt letters to him. He only coldly returned a note reading, Sorry, aiming for college A. My crush shattered. Angrily, I transformed the youthful crush story into an R-rated one. It became quite popular. Eventually Jason became my boss, and each scowl reminded me to update on my side project. Sharp writing skills honed over time. This time, due to content review, I tweaked an older chapter. In the rush of writing a new proposal, I'd mistakenly sent it out. Or maybe my sleep-deprived brain mixed up the document names. Realizing Jason had been reading my explicit story with him as the lead from morning, my vision blazed. Seconds later, someone tapped my shoulder. "Carrie, Jason wants you in his office." Usually, those words are haunting. Now, they're like a death knell. I grimaced. "Can I not go?" The messenger looked puzzled. "What's up?" Jason seemed urgent. "Did you mess up?" Lily burst into laughter. "Big deal, yellow alert level 1, ha ha ha." Coworkers were even more confused. "Yeah, we use red, yellow, blue for priority levels." No one thought a yellow level incident would actually happen at the company. I gazed at the CEO's office nearby. Solemn, sacred, untouchable. Inside, a high-brow, untouchable Jason. Meanwhile, I'd fictionalized him into a superbly skilled male lead. Recalling the bizarre scenes written in spite against Jason, I braced myself for the unemployment line. With Lily watching, I walked resignedly into the abyss. "Jason, I heard you wanted to see me." My voice wavered as I awkwardly entered Jason's office. Jason sat tall in his chair, his back to me, withholding any expression. A faint voice drifted in. "Did you write all this?" If I could, I'd faint on the spot. But right now, I just couldn't pass out. I had to hold on to my last bit of stubbornness. "No. Jason, you've misunderstood, really. I accidentally received that document, didn't know where it came from, honestly. I also don't know how it got sent to you. I just wanted to submit a proposal." I kept repeating myself, trying to make my words sound believable. But Jason, becoming a CEO at such a young age, who is he? His voice was calm and steady. I finished reading it. I did a search using the names from the text and found it's an ongoing series. The author is someone named Carrie. And what you sent hasn't shown up in the latest chapters. Jason didn't need to emphasize the last sentence. As his soothing voice read out the book's title, I wish I could disappear into the ground. Okay. At first, it was just supposed to be a crush novel. I didn't intentionally avoid using my own name when creating an ID. After turning it into a spicy story, I wanted to change my ID, but the damn platform wouldn't let me. The website is so niche, and my name is pretty common. I didn't think too much of it. But now? I want to die. Jason turned his chair, facing me directly. His eyes held an indescribable look. "I just want to ask you one question. Writing spicy stories and sending them to the person they're about. Getting caught by him, who happens to be my boss. What's more awkward than this?" I zoned out, already envisioning being fired tomorrow for stepping into the office with my left foot first. I didn't care what he wanted to ask anymore. I just looked at Jason with empty eyes. "Yeah, go ahead." He lowered his head, quietly said. "I just want to know. Why am I always the submissive one?" All I could see was Jason's mouth opening and closing. My mind was buzzing loudly. The joy of writing the plot was replaced by the desire to vanish. Sure, to satisfy my twisted mind, I intentionally wrote Jason as the heroine's object of desire. But, is this really something to ask directly? Isn't he embarrassed? I felt like I was running out of oxygen. Jason didn't look too comfortable himself. He pressed his lips together, trying to catch my gaze, but stubbornly stared at the table instead. With fingers interlocked, he still waited for my answer. I felt my breathing getting heavier. This. Can I even say it? Can I say it's because you rejected me, and I'm twisted that way? Of course I can't. I took a deep breath, deciding to throw caution to the wind. Then I want to ask, why don't you give me a raise? When you can't answer, toss the question back. This is one question a boss cannot answer. Jason finally lifted his head. He looked at me with slight surprise in his eyes. Is that why? I was startled. Suddenly felt speechless. I instinctively denied, no. Jason lightly pushed himself back, turning his chair away again. I see, you can go now. What does he know? After leaving the office, Lily kept comforting me. It's okay, don't give up, be strong. Courageous kids get blessed. I decided to be courageous. Quietly returned to my desk, found the proposal I had painfully finished last night, and sent it to Jason. Jason, here's my proposal. He instantly replied, received. I was shocked. He never used to respond when I handed things to him. This time, he actually acknowledged receipt. Is this what they say about people speaking kindly before departure? I felt so sad. Even though I wasn't fond of Jason, I never thought of leaving the company. I really can't bear leaving. I felt dazed for a long time. Even during the afternoon meeting, I was out of it. When colleagues applauded, I was clueless. When someone called my name, I felt like my soul had been snatched away. Not until Lily pinched my thigh hard, whispering in the loudest whisper. Carrie, you got a raise. Did I snap out of it? What? A raise? Colleagues looked at me in shock. On stage, Jason frowned slightly, confused. But he still tapped on the table, repeated. Carrie, your proposal was excellent, deserving a salary increase. What? Me? A raise? Jason personally announced it. Everyone was super envious of me. After the meeting, they surrounded me. Carrie, you're amazing, how did you write your proposal? Jason gave you a raise. Yeah, I'm so jealous. Why is Jason being so generous suddenly? Raising salaries? Carrie, did you give Jason a gift? Shut up, it's 'cause the proposal was well written, okay. Carrie, can I see your proposal? They chatted non-stop. I sat at my desk, overwhelmed. Suddenly, someone opened my laptop, the chat with Jason was in view. This is the excellent proposal. They eagerly grabbed the mouse. I suddenly had a foreboding feeling. I reached out, trying to stop them in panic. But they were too fast. In an instant, the document was displayed for all to see. Someone, still in their world, mumbled. She thrashed against Jason's approaching lower abdomen. Drenched in fragrant sweat. They realized something, the mouth went into overdrive filtering out certain things. My head was about to explode. As everyone stood dumbfounded, I snapped the laptop shut with a bang. Though it was too late. I could only laugh awkwardly in their shocked and curious gazes. You didn't see anything, right? And suddenly, everyone nodded like pecking chickens. No, we didn't see anything. I wanted to bury my head in the sand. Sticking my head in the sand. But reality keeps hitting me hard. Going to the bathroom, I hear whispers from the stalls. Did you see it? So thrilling. Like, that type of stuff. Passing by the break room, there's hushed gossip. Who knew Jason liked that kind of thing? I'll even find some to send his way. Think he'll give me a raise? Depends on your quality, don't you think? My eyes widen. Crazy. This world is just insane. As things spiral more and more out of control, I decide to confess. I nervously knock on Jason's office door. He's buried in his computer, reading intently. Seeing me come in, he blushes a bit. Quickly moved his mouse a couple of times and then asked, "What's up?" I cautiously step forward and give him a deep bow. Jason, I'm sorry. It's my fault they saw your computer. I didn't stop them in time. Jason frowned slightly, looking puzzled. What? I close my eyes. They saw what I sent you yesterday and thought you were giving me a raise because of it, and there's more action on that front coming. I finish, feeling ridiculous. Jason simply lowers his eyes, got it. I'm baffled, you got it? Seeing no reaction, I press on. What if they really send it to you? Jason glances at his phone, speaking nonchalantly. Harassing the boss means a salary deduction. He's so serious, definitely not joking. I can't help asking, then why did you give me a raise? Everything happened so fast, I didn't get a chance to think through his actions. Being sent such stuff yet still getting a raise? There's gotta be some catch, right? Your project proposal was perfect, he responds. That's it? Curiosity gets the better of me. Jason hesitates before saying, I also hope you make me look good in your story. I'm stunned. Huh? His eyelids lowered, I can see his thick lashes. I have no clue what he's getting at. Jason looks down, sounding a bit resentful. I don't mind for your sake, but I don't want to be too harshly treated. My brain short-circuits. I finally recall our earlier conversation. Jason said he knew. Turns out he misunderstood and took action. Who'd think Jason, always so defiant, would care so much about his story portrayal? No, surely he doesn't mind. He must be hinting at something else. I realize and try to laugh it off. Jason, you're joking. I'll just delete the whole account and all chapters when I get back. Jason's head shot up. No. I freeze. No, why not? I stammer. Jason looks at me intensely. 8 years from chapter 1 to now. That's your hard work. Why wipe it for my sake? You can't bear to do that, can you? His sincerity gets to me as he wipes his eyes dramatically. It's fine with me. Just don't make me too miserable, okay? He looks at me intently. Can you do that? When did Jason become this understanding? I'm totally baffled. But he's right about one thing. I can't delete that novel. It's something I poured my heart into. Plus the reader's lively discussions on the plot. It's irreplaceable. But having it out there, knowing Jason could check it out anytime, makes me cringe. After a lot of thought, I go home and open Word determinately. Type 3,000 words in a fury. Upload the update. An hour later, Jason messages me. Why does today's plot have the character forcing the heroine to recite socialist core values? And she can't sleep until she's done? I tell him, deadpan. To give you a taste of being the tormentor, Jason. Satisfied? He denies firmly. No way. I scratch my head. This was the only non-weird plot I could think of to grant Jason's wish for authority. Readers say I'm abstract, I ignore them. Friends call me absurd, I shake my head in denial. I even wrote him as superimposing just to please him. And he doesn't like it? I'm at a loss, so I ask why. What's your preference? Just tell me, I can write it. Jason is silent for a bit. It's hard to say. Just keep doing what you're doing, pretending I don't know. I'm even more perplexed. Jason's attitude is so weird. A scary thought comes to mind. Could Jason actually enjoy this stuff? Chilling but possible, right? After all, who wouldn't love it? Thinking I've figured out Jason's niche, I offer, want me to recommend more? He firmly refuses again. No. Boldly I ask, why just this one? Because it's based on you? Jason goes silent again. Looking at the paused chat, I could kick myself. Why ask like that? Wanting to take it back but I can't. Kicking myself silently, his reply pops up. If I say it's for the plot, would you believe me, the plot? I recall my own writing, unsure how to respond. Is our chat really at this level? Reading my mind, Jason quickly clarifies, don't get it twisted. I just like the campus parts. The character really based on me? I'm speechless for a moment. Not only did I use his name straight up, but I didn't change his character at all. Isn't that obvious? I replied sullenly, yeah. But then he suddenly got all excited. What about the female lead? Is she based on someone? My feelings were all over the place. For the first half of the Secret Admiration novel, I really wrote it in a way that would make people tear up, you know, like super emotional. Admit it? No way. I flat out denied it. The female lead isn't based on anyone, I just made her up. Jason took a while before sending me an emoji. A little bear lying on the ground, with the words "alright" then floating nearby. Something about it tugged at my heartstrings. Why did it feel like a sad emoji? The next day at the office, a bunch of co-workers were huddled up talking. Did you send it? Nah, too scared. How about you? Don't get me started. I sent it and immediately retracted it, then Jason said he'd dock my pay if I sent it again. Why? Carrie sent it and got a raise, didn't she? They spotted me walking by and pulled me into the conversation. Carrie, what did you send to Jason? What kind is it? I was full of question marks. Where's your guy's manners? I closed my eyes for a second and tried to explain, no, seriously, it's just a misunderstanding. But midway through my explanation, I felt them let go of me. My co-workers stepped back. Curious about why, I turned around to find Jason behind us without us noticing. His dark eyes quietly fixed on us. Seeing everyone lower their heads in silence, he finally spoke in a deep, steady voice. The reason I gave Carrie a raise was that her plan was genuinely thoughtful. Instead of putting your energy into pointless things, you should learn from her progress. His voice was cold, impersonal. It had a vibe like you'd be fired the next second. The others hung their heads even lower. But I felt like I was floating on air, like walking on clouds or something. So, Jason was praising me. Didn't I say? My proposal really was perfect. After saying that, Jason left, leaving my co-workers stunned. Didn't he give her a raise? Thought maybe he finally softened up. But those who knew better were shaking their heads. Jason softening up? No way. During lunch, Jason, surprisingly, didn't go to his fancy restaurant. Instead, he showed up at the employee cafeteria. He clearly wasn't used to eating there. He joined the end of the line and casually greeted people while stealthily texting me. Got a meal card? Mind lending it? I almost spit my drink in surprise. Jason didn't even have a meal card for his own company's cafeteria. Holding back laughter, I went over and handed him my card. No need to return it, Jason. His large hand took the card, brushing my fingers. Thanks. For a moment, it felt like being back in high school. Seeing Jason forgetting his meal card, I'd rush over to offer mine. You can use mine. A young Jason, clean school uniform, hair flicking, his bright eyes saying, thanks. Snapping back, Jason was already at my table with his tray, even scaring away Lily, who wanted to join me. I rubbed my forehead. Why's Jason at the cafeteria today? Leisurely, he sampled some potato shreds and remarked, not bad. Then he looked at me slowly, wanted to mingle with the employees more. Is that okay? I nodded while eating. Of course. Mind if I ask a few questions? Alarm bells went off in my head, but I still said, sure. Jason elegantly ate a piece of beef. Is the cafeteria menu fixed? I sighed with relief. Nope. What were yesterday's sides? Lion's head meatballs, carrot beef stew, green beans, stir-fried cabbage, and seaweed egg soup. Think it's balanced, pretty balanced. Do you like eating here? Yeah, I do. Who is the female lead in your novel based on? Just as naturally, I almost said, it's. But mid-word, I realized something was up and stopped myself. With a piece of meat still in my mouth, I stared at Jason in disbelief. You're trying to trick me? Jason avoided my gaze. He wiped his mouth, pretending to look at something else. Nah, just curious. I swear, Jason's got this weird thing about my novel's character inspirations. After failing to get it out of me, he randomly set up a high school reunion. I was shocked when Clara, my bestie, told me about it. No way, isn't he usually against parties? Clara shrugged. Who knows? When the class rep told me, I thought he was pulling my leg. But then he showed me his chat with Jason. It was really Jason who set it up. I sank into my seat, finding it all pretty odd. What was he up to? Clara shrugged again. Who knows? Let's just go. I nodded. The reunion was sudden, but luckily, most classmates were local. Easy to plan. When Clara and I arrived, quite a few classmates were already there. Jason was surrounded, chatting away. Clara and I chose a table closer to the gossipers. Just close enough to overhear their conversation. Who slipped candies into Jason's desk back then? Anyone remember? That's ages ago and Jason had lots of girl admirers. Hard to keep track. Actually, on that note, I do remember a girl from our class. As I listened, I grew tense. It wasn't just because the one who sneaked sweets into Jason's desk was me. But also because it mirrored a scene in my novel. Was Jason using this to find out the real-life inspiration? Just as my nerves peaked, the classmate who'd been talking seemed to have an epiphany. Isn't that Daisy? I remember seeing her sneak stuff into your desk a few times. My tense nerves suddenly snapped. Daisy was the school's famous beauty back in high school. She liked Jason. Everyone knew it, especially the girls. She couldn't make it to the reunion this time, 'cause she's abroad. Jason, confused, replied, Daisy? Yeah, she's always liked you. Are you guys gonna pick things up again? Someone chimed in. Huh, forget glass slippers. Jason's gonna find his first love with candy. In high school, a lot of people thought Daisy and Jason were a great match. But the timing was never right. I couldn't help but look back. Jason seemed lost in thought. More people started showing up, and someone suggested we play party games. Each of us had to spill a secret from our school days that no one else knew. The stuff people shared was so random. That time we had less homework, it was me, I didn't finish mine and hid it. I changed the seating chart to sit closer to you-know-who. I snuck snacks meant for Jason from girls in other classes. That horrible smell during study hall? Yeah, that was my fart. The more people shared, the funnier it got. When it was Jason's turn, he slowly started sharing. I once liked a girl in our class. Everyone lost it. What? You've been hiding this from us? Among the teasing and laughter, Jason's eyes casually swept over to me. I didn't think I hid it that well. Didn't think no one noticed. I was watching him already. When we locked eyes, my heart started racing. He liked a girl? Then. Was he looking at me? Just as I was processing this, someone burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, no way. I totally saw it coming. You had a thing for Daisy, right? You were so obvious back then, always sneaking glances her way during class. My wandering thoughts came to an abrupt halt. Of course. He had clearly turned me down. Why did I foolishly think the girl he liked was me? Classmates kept gossiping around Jason. Really? I thought it was just me imagining things. You all noticed? Was I the only clueless one? Nope, I saw it too. I just thought he was looking at Carrie. Amid the chatter, my long dormant schoolgirl heart felt uneasy. I got up and walked out of the room. I didn't want to hear them speculating about this. As I shut the door, I thought I heard Jason say something. Sounded a bit like my name. I chuckled to myself. Carrie, you're full of yourself. I stood outside for a bit. Not sure how long, but then a familiar figure rushed over. She almost passed me by but then doubled back. Step by step, she came over to me. Carrie? Is that you? I looked up, puzzled. In front of me was a face I knew all too well. Our high school homeroom teacher, Wendy. Wendy? I exclaimed. She smiled kindly, didn't know there was a reunion. Why are you out here alone? I was still a bit out of it. You came too. She patted my shoulder, the class pres told me. I had some things at home I thought I'd drop by for you all. I stared dumbfoundedly as Wendy held up a sizable bag. She rummaged through it, then handed me a comic book. This is the one I confiscated from you. Time to return it. Looking at the worn-out, but well-preserved comic book and Wendy, who seemed unchanged, I suddenly felt like crying. Wendy touched my face, teasing. Tears in those big eyes already? I blinked, holding back tears, my voice choked. Wendy. Yeah? She replied. Should we go in and see the others? Thinking of the room full of them joking about Jason, I instinctively wanted to avoid it. I'll come in a minute. Wendy didn't push. She gave me a hug and hurried back inside. After she left, I casually flipped through the comic book. There were lots of my doodles in it. And plenty of the letter J. I never told anyone I liked Jason, so I only used J as a code. Back then, I'd idly scribble that letter when he crossed my mind. With my mind all over the place, I flipped through more pages and found a letter. It seemed familiar. I opened it. And froze. I recognized it as the love letter I wrote to Jason back then. I even used a fancy pink envelope. But why was it still in my comic book? My mind went blank. In my memory, even though Jason turned me down, he was nice about it and didn't return my letter. So why was it here, in my comic book? Stunned, I looked again. The tape on the envelope was still fairly secure. Once I peeled it open, it couldn't be resealed. Standing with the comic book and letter at the door, I felt disoriented. As if something important was missing. Suddenly, someone called my name. I turned around. It was Jason. He was running towards me. Carrie, why haven't you gone back? I just stood there, watching him come closer. My mind went blank. When Jason stopped next to me and saw what I had in my hand, he frowned. Is this from Wendy? I nodded without thinking. Jason's eyes lowered to the pink love letter in my hand. He opened his mouth, hesitated, and then seemed to have an inner debate for a few seconds before speaking again. Is that a love letter? I nodded again. Who's it for, you? I replied so fast that Jason looked stunned. I saw the surprise in his eyes. But what was he surprised about? What's the matter? Haven't you seen this before? I asked. Jason was just standing there, closing his eyes tightly, then shaking his head. No. Did you write this? He was stuttering a bit, kind of funny. I hummed, but I didn't quite get it. You didn't open it? Jason frowned. I never got it. I was completely thrown. You never got it? I asked incredulously. Didn't I hand it to you myself? Jason looked at me, head slightly tilted as if deep in thought. After a while, he came to a conclusion. No, you gave me a letter, but it wasn't yours. It was someone else's. No way. I blurted out. I've always been afraid of causing misunderstandings, so I never deliver love letters for others, or let someone else deliver mine. I only gave Jason the ones I wrote myself. Then I got his cold reply. But Jason was sure. No, the one you gave me was from Daisy, I remember clearly. As Jason and I were staring at each other, I got a phone call. It was Daisy, of course. Sorry, Jason. A classmate just messaged me about what happened back then, and I thought I should explain. I never put candy in your desk, I threw the candy from your desk away. Why? Maybe because you never accepted my gifts, I had a bit of a complex. I'm sorry. She explained very casually. Jason didn't really hear it, he just followed up, what about the letter? Daisy was surprised. Letter? You mean the one you didn't respond to? Back then you only accepted things from Carrie, so I left the letter with her, hinting for her to give it to you. But you never responded, that's not okay? Jason and I exchanged bewildered glances again. It was like being hit with a thunderbolt, as if the detective spirit of Conan had possessed us. Pieces of memories coming together into a full picture. I hung up. So, you mistook Daisy's letter as mine to you, and my refusal of Daisy's letter as your own? Jason neatly summed up the whole situation. I quietly fiddled with my hands, feeling too ashamed to look at him. Jason laughed in frustration. No wonder you started avoiding me, seemed like you hated me. I thought I had done something wrong. I tried to sidestep the topic. It's all in the past. Can we just leave it behind? But Jason suddenly looked at me closely. The past? How about now? You wrote me a love letter, gave me candy, and were the muse for that novel character, weren't you, Carrie? I felt even more embarrassed. Figured now to explain, Daisy. Making me blush furiously. I silently turned my head, finally coming to terms. So what if I was? Jason's eyes widened. Carrie, do you know how long I tried to figure this out? I retorted. You're such a creep, trying to find the muse of the novel. Total creep. Jason laughed out of frustration. He grabbed my chin, turning my head towards him, forcing me to meet his gaze. He was smiling. Who's the creep? The one who wrote it or me for figuring it out? I closed my eyes, pointing at him. You. But Jason just took hold of my hand, slowly curling my fingers into a fist, holding it tightly in his palm. His hand was broad and warm, comforting even. I opened my eyes, face blushing. What are you doing? And found myself staring into Jason's intense gaze. Carrie, you like me, right? I instinctively wanted to deny it. But no words came out. Just silently opening and closing my mouth, making Jason laugh. Yeah, I see the I like you face. My eyes widened. When did I ever say that? His eyes twinkling with a smile. Just now. Saying you like me means you can't take it back. At least, I won't take back liking you, Carrie. You hear that? I couldn't handle Jason's straightforward advance any longer. How could anyone deal with a handsome guy pouring his long repressed feelings out to you every day? He even admitted the class reunion was for me, to make me face my feelings. Fine, I admit it, even rejected, I hadn't forgotten him. Those stories I wrote weren't just revenge. Deep down, they were about longing for him. After laying everything out with Jason, even going to work felt different. My colleagues kept asking, Carrie, how on earth did you get on Jason's good side? Seriously, I want a raise. I was so pestered that I showed them my chat with Jason. I didn't butter him up. My coworkers skimmed through our chats, their jaws dropped. Carrie, even if you didn't butter him up, this is way too bold. I was confused. What do you mean? My coworker covered their mouth. You argue with Jason, talk back to him. Oh my God. I was even more puzzled. What were they talking about? Jason didn't really mind these things, did he? I just vent a little in private. He's straightforward, didn't even realize I was venting my frustration. But my coworker just shook their head. No, that's not it. Didn't you know? Someone accidentally sent their rant about Jason directly to him. The next day, they were assigned to toilet cleaning duty. After that, nobody dared to talk trash about Jason in front of him. Someone told me this, but I didn't believe it. So, I asked around. Everyone said they were even more respectful to Jason in private. I was shocked. Couldn't you tell I was expressing dissatisfaction? I pointed at the previous chat logs, stammering as I asked Jason. He glanced at it and nodded with a helpless expression. So obvious, how come I didn't see it? I must be really dumb. I was stunned. Didn't you get mad before? Jason chuckled. Far surpassing the level of a peer. No matter how often you snap at me, I like it. He continued, at least I'm still the person you feel you can express your emotions to. I'm happy about that. Jason already looks quite handsome. With the warm light on his face and a hint of a smile, he looked even better. Yet he still said, "If you're upset, feel free to vent at me. I'm glad to be your emotional dumping ground, Carrie. I want to share the burden for my loved one." My face turned so red. Okay, stop talking." Jason nodded, his long fingers sliding across the screen. "All right, changing the topic." Today's chapter was. He kissed the corner of her lips, moving downward, going all the way to the deepest part. He turned off the phone screen. "Carrie, it's time to reenact it. Okay?" I didn't even have time to answer before he was already kissing the corner of my lips. All I could do was silently protest with my eyes. Since the day we broke the taboo, Jason loves to reenact scenes from my novels. And the thing is, he actually has the same incredible stamina as my male protagonist. Each time, he recreates it more accurately. I have to wear 3 thick layers of concealer just to go to work. What a total pervert. One day, I'm going to block his Reader account.